We live in a world that constantly promotes perfection. Success is lauded, and failure is treated as something to be hidden away. Yet I submit to you today that our greatest growth does not come from the easy wins, but rather from the bitter taste of our mistakes. The lessons that shape us the most are often born not from our victories but from our failures, those moments when we falter and fall. In the aftermath of failure, when all seems lost, there is an opportunity to learn not just from the mistake itself, but from the struggle it creates within us. The initial discomfort of failure, the pang of regret, is nothing more than an invitation to reflect. And it is through that reflection that we come to understand something crucial. We are not defined by our mistakes, but by our willingness to learn from them. We must recognize that errors are not mere missteps in the journey. They are, in fact, the very mechanism through which we uncover our deepest truths. It is easy to believe in our own righteousness when the path ahead is smooth, but it is only when the road is rough and full of obstacles that we see who we truly are. In moments of failure, we confront not only the consequences of our actions, but the very nature of our character. It is then that we are asked, what kind of person will you become after this? It is in the process of rebuilding ourselves after we have fallen that the true lesson is learned. Let us be clear, mistakes are not merely things to be tolerated or suffered through. They are opportunities in disguise. We must abandon the notion that mistakes should be avoided at all costs. Instead, we must embrace them as one might embrace a difficult but necessary teacher. For it is only through the trials of adversity that we gain the wisdom to navigate life with understanding and grace. The key to turning mistakes into lessons lies in our response to them. When faced with a failure, we can either succumb to despair or use the experience to sharpen our understanding. Those who choose the latter are the ones who emerge stronger, not because they were perfect, but because they dared to face their imperfections and learn from them. In the grand scheme of things, our mistakes are not the failures we so often make them out to be. They are the rough stone from which wisdom is sculpted. By looking upon our errors not with shame but with an open mind, we see them for what they truly are, teachers that challenge us to become the best versions of ourselves. Mistakes, often seen as failures or setbacks, are frequently misunderstood in a world that emphasizes achievement and success. In fact, the true value of mistakes lies in their ability to teach us something that no success ever could. In times of failure, we are compelled to face the uncomfortable truth about our limitations, our choices, and sometimes the very nature of our own character. The human instinct is to avoid pain, and thus we tend to avoid failure at all costs. However, it is precisely in those moments of pain, discomfort, and challenge that the greatest opportunities for growth are found. When we encounter a mistake, we are often forced to pause and assess the situation. It is a moment of self-reflection, where the automatic patterns of success and achievement are broken, and we are left to confront the harsh reality of our error. Without the pressure of perfection or the false security of having everything in place, we are given the chance to reconsider our approach, our mindset, and our goals. This moment of reflection can be uncomfortable, as it requires vulnerability. But it is through this vulnerability that we uncover deeper insights into who we are and what drives us. Adversity, in the form of failure, offers a unique kind of education that success cannot replicate. It pushes us beyond the boundaries of our comfort zone, challenging us to reconsider assumptions and reevaluate strategies. When everything goes according to plan, we may feel that we have control over our situation, but we often miss the deeper lessons that come from navigating unforeseen obstacles. Mistakes force us to abandon any illusion of control and demand that we grow in flexibility, adaptability, and resilience. Each mistake is a puzzle that requires a solution, and in attempting to solve it, we are forced to tap into our creativity and resourcefulness. Through these struggles, we begin to learn the importance of perseverance. It is easy to keep going when everything is moving in the right direction, but true endurance is cultivated when we face adversity and push through it. Mistakes, therefore, are not just setbacks, they are opportunities for fortitude. In moments of failure, we learn how to handle frustration, disappointment, and even embarrassment. The person who perseveres after making a mistake is often far more capable than someone who has never had to face such challenges. The ability to keep moving forward, even when things seem bleak, is a skill that is honed through mistakes and failures. Mistakes reveal the limits of our knowledge. They expose gaps in our understanding and force us to confront our ignorance. In a world that often values confidence over humility, failure brings us face to face with the reality that we do not have all the answers. This is a humbling experience, but it is also a necessary one. To grow intellectually, we must first admit that we do not know everything, and it is through our mistakes that we are encouraged to seek out new information, acquire new skills, and fill in the gaps of our knowledge. Without this awareness, there can be no true growth. Mistakes also teach us the importance of empathy. When we make mistakes, we often experience frustration, regret, and confusion. In these moments, we learn what it feels like to struggle. We are reminded of our human vulnerability. This, in turn, allows us to develop a greater understanding and compassion for others who face their own difficulties. It is easy to pass judgment on others when we have never been in their shoes, but once we have experienced our own mistakes, we are more likely to offer kindness and support to those who are going through similar challenges. The ability to empathize with others is an essential quality in building meaningful relationships, and it is one that is often nurtured through our own struggles and missteps. The most significant lesson, however, is that mistakes teach us resilience. It is easy to feel defeated when things do not go according to plan, but it is through the process of overcoming failure that we develop the mental strength to bounce back. Each time we fail and rise again, we reinforce our capacity to recover. Success teaches us little about resilience because it often does not require us to bounce back. But failure mistakes requires us to dig deep and find the strength to move forward. The process of learning from our mistakes builds our ability to endure future challenges, and this resilience becomes a cornerstone of personal growth. While mistakes are often uncomfortable, they are far from useless. In fact, they are perhaps the most valuable experiences we encounter. Each mistake carries with it the potential to expand our knowledge, deepen our empathy, increase our resilience, and teach us critical lessons about perseverance and humility. The path to true personal development is not one devoid of errors and missteps, but one that embraces them as necessary and transformative. By understanding the inherent value of mistakes, we can begin to see them not as hindrances, but as essential milestones on the journey to becoming our best selves. When we make mistakes, the immediate response is often one of regret, frustration, or even shame. The natural inclination is to avoid looking back at the error, but this impulse to disregard or suppress our failures ultimately hinders the growth that comes from them. The true value of a mistake lies not just in the recognition of it, but in the deep, honest reflection that follows. To truly learn from our mistakes, we must pause, look inward, and allow ourselves to understand not just what went wrong, but why it went wrong. This process of self-awareness is essential for personal development, as it unlocks the door to deeper understanding and long-term change. Reflection is the act of stepping back from the moment of failure, taking a neutral stance, and assessing the situation without judgment. It is only through such reflective moments that we can examine the choices, behaviors, and attitudes that led us to our mistakes. At first glance, we may be quick to blame external factors, such as circumstances or the actions of others. However, it is in acknowledging our role in the mistake that we begin to take responsibility for our actions. This self-awareness is not about self-blame, rather, it is about understanding the dynamics at play in our decision-making processes. When we reflect on our mistakes with an open mind, we uncover the layers of our own thought patterns, values, and beliefs that shaped our behavior. Only by doing so can we begin to make more informed choices in the future. Self-awareness also allows us to confront the emotions tied to our mistakes, emotions like fear, shame, guilt, or even anger. These emotions, while natural and human, often cloud our judgment and prevent us from fully understanding what we can learn from the experience. If we are to truly gain insight from our errors, we must face these feelings head-on and allow ourselves to process them in a healthy way. Suppressing or ignoring our emotions only prolongs the discomfort and prevents us from moving forward. By acknowledging our emotions and allowing them to pass, we clear the path for rational thought and constructive self-examination. This emotional honesty is key to not only overcoming the mistake, but also in developing the emotional intelligence necessary for personal growth. When we are self-aware, we start to see patterns in our behavior that we might have previously overlooked. Perhaps we notice that our mistakes stem from a tendency to act impulsively, or that we frequently make decisions out of fear or a desire for approval. These revelations offer us the opportunity to examine the root causes of our mistakes, rather than just their surface-level manifestations. Understanding why we make the decisions we do helps us identify our triggers, those situations, emotions, or beliefs that lead us down paths of error. By identifying these patterns, we can take proactive steps to change them in the future. For example, if we recognize that we often make poor decisions when we are stressed, we can learn healthier ways to manage stress before it clouds our judgment. Self-awareness through reflection also deepens our understanding of our values and priorities. Often we make mistakes when we act in ways that are misaligned with our deeper values, or when we prioritize short-term desires over long-term well-being. For instance, we may realize that we failed to act with integrity because we were more concerned with gaining immediate approval or rewards. Reflecting on these moments allows us to reconnect with our core values and make conscious decisions that align with the person we aspire to become. By regularly examining our actions in light of our values, we build a stronger sense of self and a clearer sense of direction in life. The process of reflection does not only apply to personal mistakes but extends to our relationships with others. Often, our errors involve others in some capacity, whether it's failing to communicate effectively, misunderstanding someone's intentions, or acting in ways that hurt others. By reflecting on how our mistakes have affected those around us, we gain a more compassionate understanding of their perspectives. This self-awareness not only enhances our relationships, but also strengthens our ability to empathize with others when they make their own mistakes. By understanding our role in the impact we have on others, we become more accountable for our actions and better equipped to navigate interpersonal dynamics in the future. As we continue to reflect on our mistakes, we begin to develop a deeper sense of growth. This ongoing cycle of reflection, understanding, and change becomes ingrained in our character, turning mistakes into valuable teachers. The act of reflecting allows us to continuously evaluate and adjust our behaviors, ensuring that we do not repeat the same errors over and over again. It cultivates a mindset of learning and improvement, which in turn propels us toward greater success and fulfillment in both personal and professional areas of life. Self-awareness does more than just offer insight into our mistakes. It provides us with the tools to break free from the patterns that hinder our progress. It invites us to engage in a constant process of refinement, honing our skills, decision-making abilities, and emotional responses. Each mistake, when met with reflection and self-awareness, becomes a stepping stone on the path to becoming a more conscious, intentional, and capable individual. Through this process, we discover that the best lessons do not come from our successes, but from the moments when we dare to look deeply into the mirror of our mistakes and learn from them. The process of rebuilding after a mistake is often overlooked in the rush to move past failure and regain composure. Yet it is in this rebuilding phase that the most significant growth occurs. When we make a mistake, particularly one that carries weight, we are faced with the choice to give up and allow the failure to define us, or to take the opportunity to reconstruct, reframe, and rise stronger than before. It is this rebuilding process that transforms failure from something that holds us back into a crucial milestone on the journey to greater wisdom and resilience. The way we respond to our mistakes, how we rebuild ourselves, is what ultimately shapes our character and defines our future. Rebuilding after a mistake is not simply about correcting the error at hand. It involves deep introspection and a commitment to personal growth. It is about acknowledging the mistake, accepting the consequences, and then deciding to take responsibility for the path forward. This process of rebuilding requires humility, as it demands that we set aside our ego and face our shortcomings head-on. The immediate instinct may be to deflect responsibility or to make excuses, but the true power of rebuilding lies in our willingness to own up to our actions. This acceptance is not about self-punishment, but rather about empowerment. By acknowledging our errors, we take the first step toward transforming them into valuable lessons that can fuel our development. Rebuilding ourselves after a mistake requires a sense of self-compassion. Often, when we fail, we can be our harshest critics, focusing on our perceived inadequacies and shortcomings. However, this negative self-talk only serves to hinder the rebuilding process. True growth comes when we learn to approach ourselves with kindness, understanding that mistakes are a part of being human. We must give ourselves permission to fail without fear of being permanently defined by our errors. The journey of rebuilding is not one of perfection but of progress. We must remember that the road to recovery from failure is not a linear one. It is filled with setbacks, doubts, and obstacles. But the key is to keep moving forward, even when the way is unclear. Rebuilding also involves the development of new strategies and approaches. When a mistake occurs, it often highlights areas where our current methods are flawed or insufficient. To rebuild effectively, we must evaluate what went wrong and learn from it. This means reassessing the strategies we used before, understanding why they failed, and then seeking out new solutions. The rebuilding process is one of innovation, where we step back from old habits and ways of thinking and adopt new, more effective strategies for navigating similar challenges in the future. Whether it is learning a new skill, developing a new mindset, or refining our decision-making process, the process of rebuilding equips us with tools that enhance our ability to succeed the next time around. A crucial aspect of rebuilding is perseverance. When faced with failure, it is easy to fall into despair, especially when the mistake seems irreversible or its consequences far-reaching. However, it is precisely in these moments that our ability to persevere is tested. Rebuilding requires the strength to push through the discomfort and continue working toward our goals, even in the face of setbacks. Perseverance is not simply about enduring, it is about remaining committed to the process of growth, even when the end result is unclear. Through perseverance, we develop resilience, the ability to recover from difficulties, and this resilience strengthens us for future challenges. The rebuilding process is where we build our mental and emotional endurance, which becomes a vital asset as we move forward. Rebuilding after a mistake often involves learning to rebuild relationships. Many mistakes, especially those involving others, leave a trail of hurt, misunderstandings, or damaged trust. In such cases, rebuilding is not just an internal process, but an external one as well. Repairing relationships requires humility, patience, and communication. It involves reaching out to those affected by the mistake, owning up to our actions, and making amends where possible. This process of reconciliation not only helps to mend the damage done, but also strengthens our ability to connect with others in meaningful ways. Through the rebuilding of relationships, we learn the power of forgiveness not just from others, but also from ourselves. The act of rebuilding is an invitation to deepen our connections and demonstrate our growth as individuals. Rebuilding also teaches us the importance of adaptability. As we encounter obstacles and make mistakes, we must learn to adjust our approach and remain flexible in the face of adversity. The process of rebuilding requires us to shed rigid thinking and embrace a mindset of growth. It challenges us to reframe our perspective on failure, seeing it not as a permanent setback, but as a temporary condition that can be overcome with effort, creativity, and determination. In this sense, rebuilding is a process of transformation, where failure ceases to be something to avoid and becomes something to learn from and use as a stepping stone to greater success. The rebuilding process is a powerful tool for self-improvement. It is in these moments of recovery that we discover our true strength and capacity for growth. When we face our mistakes directly, accept their lessons, and commit to rebuilding, we emerge stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the challenges that lie ahead. The ability to rebuild after a mistake is what distinguishes those who thrive from those who are defeated by their failures. It is the resilience to rise, to change, and to grow that turns our mistakes into the most powerful lessons we will ever learn. The process of rebuilding is not just about fixing what was broken, it is about creating something new, something stronger from the pieces of what came before.